Good morning, everyone. It is October 11th, 2025. It's Saturday. Sorry I didn't record the past couple days. I've been super busy, but I wanted to jump on this Saturday, not because I'm trading, but because I wanted to talk about what happened over the past couple days, especially what happened yesterday. Yesterday was more of a kind of a almost like a black swan event. The market was completely red, and yeah, I saw this coming. I saw this coming earlier in the morning. Actually, there was something that was happening in the news. There was some kind of like alert that that was set out about a trade, like possible trade war or anything like that. And I started to watch the market turn red, right? And yeah, so what happens is that when there's like news, anytime that there's any kind of news, whether it's good news, it's bad news, anything like that, the chart usually does like this news move that it does, right? And the news move, I like to draw it like this. This is what the move does, right? Where it ends up just coming right back into the middle of where it is. But every now and then, we've had in the past these moments right here, this kind of moment where news drives a candle so far down, it basically like rinses so many people out that were having a long, but also people trying to catch the knife, and trying to long and make profit because it's a really good opportunity. So just so you know, this right here, I just said it, whatever. This is catching the knife. That's what that is, right? You're trying to catch it. Usually what happens is you end up getting sliced up, when it's doing this. But there is a way to play these moves. And I want to go over it, but first I want to go over exactly what has happened and where the charts have gone, right? So if you've been following me this month, we've been in this range the entire month. And we were concentrating on this side of the range, and we were concentrating on that side of the range, all above the 50% line right here. And what happened is that we ended up hitting this top here, and I did take a short over here. I took a short. This was a short that we called in advance, right? Because we were looking for this candle to be taken out here, and because this was the all-time high, right? This is kind of the area that we were swinging for, and my short actually worked out. But I did end up closing my trade right over here. I closed it right here, and there was a reason why I closed it. Man, I don't even know how to spell. Anyway, the reason why I closed it was because I felt that we were starting to bounce up above, and I was looking to actually rinse and repeat. I did feel like this was a good area, but we were so close to my entry point that I wanted to take the capital that I already gained and throw it into there. So I ended up closing out my trade, which, I wish I would have left it in, but I still made some gain, right? But if you could see, like, here's what happened. Yesterday, we got some news during the day, and the news was trade war, right? That's basically what it is. I mean, I'm not going to go into specifics, right? But, oh my gosh, scary, right? Scary because things are going to go up, but also, it's going to affect our economy in some kind of way, right? So what happened is the market just started to drop. But look where it went. Look, it went all the way back down to this spot right over here. Right here. Look, right at this line. I mean, I drew this line on the chart a while ago, and it bounced exactly on this point right here. Right? Now, if you notice, I did have a long here, and I ended up closing out my long. I closed my long out by mistake. But if you notice, it took these sets of candles out. Now, this is a long stretch, This is a long stretch that it went down. But I will say this, okay? And this is important for you to grasp. Eventually, it would have done this. Whether it was news-driven, whether whether it was war, whether it was, or eventually it just slowly worked its way back down, it was going to do this. Eventually, it was going to come down. Now, I've said before that if I'm looking for A and B, I don't really care what's happening in the middle, right? I don't care what's happening in the middle because I can't predict the middle. I can't predict any of that. But I can predict where, where it would eventually react, right? So you can see where it's going to react based off of the support and resistance. So the fact that it bounced over in this spot right here, I mean, like, eventually it would have hit here. And it did. It took the opportunity yesterday to do that. And in doing so, this is quite a strong move down, right? Now, here's the thing that I want you to just understand. I don't care what this market is doing. This is a moment, okay? The same thing with this part right over here. This is a moment right there, okay? So we have to look at this in a form of how it's going to move and, can we possibly exploit it? Now, before I go into a little bit more detail about this move, right, because that's a pretty good one right there, let me show you Ethereum. Ethereum did something pretty crazy. It took a really big dump. Now, where we left off in our last video, I was looking to take a long in this section right over here. Right in between here and here. And I did. I took a long. And if you notice, I got stopped out. Okay? And if I would have taken a long over in this section, I would have been stopped out as well. But look at where it ended up bouncing. Do you see this right here? This is the previous range. Right here. Look at this. And not only is it the previous range, it's the previous range bottom. That's not a coincidence. Now, we haven't looked at this section at all. Really, excuse me. But let me mark this out for you here. Like, this is the bottom of that right there. And let me pull that out like this. And this is the top of the range right over here. Oh, we did. I think I looked at this one other time because of this bounce area. I said I took a long over in this section because it bounced on the top of the previous range. But notice that it skipped through the middle and it went down to the bottom. And look where it bounced. I mean, this isn't at the bottom of this range here. Like, it just went enough to kind of like try to stop some people out. Now, I did take a long and I caught a long and I made over 100% profit on this long. It is an opportunity, right? And I was watching. So here's the play, right? The play was this. I got stopped out of this zone right over here, and I decided to wait. Because there was news that was driven, I had a bag on the side, some dry powder, just waiting. But this move didn't happen all in one candle. So if we were to go and look really closely at what happened, let's take a look here. If we were to take a closer look, when a news move starts to happen like this, you have to go from a higher time frame to a lower time frame so that you can actually see what is happening. So here was the move right here. And now let me simplify this a little bit. Earlier before, I mentioned that everything usually happens in threes. 1, 2, 3. Okay? That's what happens. So when this move happened yesterday, and it was starting to struggle right around here, I waited. And as it started to go, I considered this basically wave 2, right? It started to do this. And then all of a sudden, boom, this really ridiculous move. Now, we're able to rewind the chart. So let's rewind the chart and let's take a look at exactly what happened here, right? So let me turn this off. Let me turn this off here, and let's rewind this move. I rewind it right here. This is where we were. Okay, let's pop this on. Yeah, 5x is fine. So let's just kind of like watch this play out. So here's the dump right there. And as it was going, actually, let me slow this down to like 3x. Let me rewind that a little bit. Yes, I want to remove it. Let's put it like right over here. Replay, right, okay, start new. Here we go. Okay, so all right, here we go. So here's the move that was going on. First of all, I thought we were going up, right? Because it started to grab some strength, but then we did this. This was drop number 1. Notice what happens here. This is really important. First of all, this candle was formed. And the idea is that this candle needs to be filled out by other candles on this side, right? So you wait. You have to wait for that candle to get filled out, all right? So let me slow this down a little bit more, and let's go forward now. So here it is filling out. And notice there's not really any strength. And then here, boom, it starts to fall. That's wave 2. Now it bounces up, but it doesn't get past that candle. And then, bam. Bam. Oh my gosh. Okay. So here's the thing. You see this bounce right over here? This is what everybody's trying to catch. They're trying to catch this bounce. Now, where this is going to bounce, well, if you had your chart marked out with, ranges and everything like that, you would have been able to see all of the levels that it broke through. And it happened so quick that you wouldn't have been able to catch anything. So I was waiting. When we had a big drop like this, first, I wait for this candle to fill out. Second, you get to analyze to see if it's going to go into a second wave, which it did. Boom. But this happened so fast, this move, that this was kind of the end of the day, that this was feeling weak already. And then we've got this right over here. Now, you could have shorted this. You could have shorted the top here. I mean, if you didn't, then, you're just like everybody else, right? If you did, good for you. You're eating tonight, right? So here's the thing. Take a look at what's happening right over here. A bounce up. That's the initial reaction. And now we're settling, right? But notice that we are here, here, and here. We're settling a little bit lower. Now, remember I mentioned just a moment ago about this candle filling out? Well, this candle should fill out too. So let's take a look at everything right now. Let's take a look at it all from this perspective, right? So first of all, let me get rid of this because things are starting to look a little bit clunky here. Right? Let's get rid of that right there. Okay. In fact, let me just pull that off to the side. Like I said. Okay. So let's watch this one more time here. This time I'll have these measurements here on the screen. Let's see if we can do that. So let's rewind this. Yes, I want to replay, right? Let's go over here, replay, start new. Right here. This was the morning. This was yesterday morning. So let's play this out. Let's go 3 times. So if you watch, to me, it looked like we were up because I took a long in this section here. This felt like we were grabbing some strength. But then all of a sudden the news came out. Now notice where it started to create like some kind of resistance. It surpassed the bottom of the long range here that we had drawn, right? But it still stayed there. But look how it accumulated right at the bottom there. That shows a sign of weakness. And then it bounced at the top and boom, all in one candle. Or in a quick candle move there, right? So here's where we are right here. If I zoom out, we are at the top of the range of the other range. And I took a long at the bottom of the range. This is where we are right now. So if we were to go and take a look, let's go take a look at some of these other charts here as to when we had like really big moves like this in the past, right? So this candle right here, this is like an investigation discovery, right? Look. So this candle that dropped was, or let me go a little bit higher here. There we go. Came to right about there. Yeah, this is about a 14% move. Let me just double check here. From here to here. Yeah, it's about a 14% move. That's the move that we did. If we take a look at another move that was like that, let's come over here and take a look here. Let's see. That's a 6% move, that candle. Right, here we go, right here. This is one. I think this is one. This whole candle here, that's a 10% candle. What I want you to notice is this. Look, see that wick right there? Even though the chart looked like it was moving away, even breaking away, it still filled out that wick. That's important. This is what I'm trying to show you, right? How to play these moves, because you just got to be patient. So let's take another one. Here, this over here. Let's take a look at this one. What is this move here? Oh, I'm getting lost in my stuff here. Sorry. So here, this is an 18% move. And notice that the wick, you see the wick right there? That wick, that was filled out too. It was filled out by the next candle, okay? But if you notice, if I were to pull across here, it came back down into this section, right? It didn't come back over here, but it was filled already, okay? Let's go look for another one. Let's click away there. Here we go. This is a good one, right over here. This candle. This was a 20% move. This is probably more of our style at this point. This is where we are. But notice the wick. See the wick? And notice it filled out. And it came down halfway in between first. And then it came and filled it out. See, look, see the wick here? Filled out. Okay? And I can keep going. I mean, we can go back further and further. Like these moments where it's dropped a tremendous amount always fills out. Look, here's a white candle here. Let's see what this is. That's a 10% move. That was a 10% drop right there. But even that, like you could see here, that the wick ends up getting filled out. Now it did bounce and it felt bullish, but it ended up getting filled out. Not only that, but we had a candle to kind of knock those people out who longed in that range. But again, this is momentary. So if you put a long in this section towards the bottom of the wick, you definitely want to take some profit. And this becomes a kind of a rinse and repeat kind of scenario. If we go down the chart here, I mean, it doesn't change, right? The characteristics of these kind of drops, they don't really change. Big wicks end up getting filled out, especially hardcore moves, right? This, I believe, was the only one that really didn't, like the second candle actually filled it out, but that was good enough for that. But if you were to look at ones that, let's see if we can find another one here. Here's another one. Let's look at this one. Let's measure this. Right here to here. Yeah, that's a 25% drop. That 25% drop. Notice that the chart looks like it is like kind of scrambling here for some support. It looks like it takes off. Don't get confused. It looks like it takes off. And then look, it fills out that wick right there. Okay? So when we have moves that are like this, it is shown in the past that usually these wicks kind of fill out. Now, there was another thing that I just talked about a moment ago. So we've got this long wick that's right here. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for it to come down and kind of fill out that way. In fact, I'm looking for it to kind of take out this zone right over here, because this makes sense that it would kind of come down, kind of take these guys out. Everyone think we're going to zero. Maybe we find some support here and we go. So really, this is kind of my red alert right now for my long, right? Now, mind you, it could take off. It always could do that, right? But this wick here means that a lot of people have made some money, but also a lot of people have lost some money. And remember, I said that the news looks like this. Up, down, like this. That looks like. Now, let's not look at Ethereum, but I want to look at a lower time frame of Bitcoin. Look at this. Do you see that? That's what it's doing. It did it. That's the pattern right there. If I were to go into the 5-minute time frame, look at that. So because this news that's there drove the price down, I don't know if it's its destiny to continue going down. It's just news. And news gives people opportunity to make money by shorting the market when nobody's noticing, right? And longing the market when everybody is suffering. The whole idea is they're looking for extreme pain. And this right here is what you want to, sorry, not extreme pain, but it's max pain. Max pain. You see, what happens is that when there's max pain, people are losing money, but someone is gaining the money, usually the exchanges, or somebody that put $1 million short right at the top before it started shorting. And those people are actually manipulating the market. It is happening. There's no way that people are hitting the sell button at the same exact time. This is a coordinated move, okay? So while it takes a dump here, someone is making money. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And while everyone is basically out of money, they move the chart back up and people start FOMOing in, right? Cha-ching, 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 right? But it becomes max pain if you're using leverage. Now, if you are using spot, this move was quite amazing, right? If you planned it correctly. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that I've been looking at. First of all, I've been looking at Aster here, right? Now, Aster, I have, and I post information on my Discord for charts like this. Now, Aster was launched, and people have been running this chart big time. But here's where the chart started right here. This was Aster in the beginning. And I drew this line, and I let my Discord know that it's going to revisit this line, right? And it took off. And if you were, FOMOing, you would have bought in. Like, oh, this is a great project. Oh, that's a great dip. This is a great dip opportunity. We're going to buy in. Oh, man, we're going to the moon, right? But notice that it is just kind of like it's just losing its strength, but it's revisiting certain areas. The middle of the range, this is the golden pockets here. It came back to the top of the range again. But again, my sights were set here from the very beginning. From the very beginning that it took off, it was set here. And notice what happened. This moment right here, this area was, or this news was the reason for everything to go right back down to this area. This has been on my chart since the project started. It's no coincidence at all. Always look for the bottom of the range. Always look. It's always a really good opportunity. But it's not just the bottom of the range. Notice that I have the bottom of the range here. It's overextending beyond to wipe all of those people out. Now, if you were to put a long, or not a long, but if you were to buy spot over here, look at this move. this to where we are now, that's almost a 50% move. You'd be 50% in profit if you just waited. Instead of guessing over here as to where you're going to go, that's what it's going to be. Also, there's another chart here that I mocked up for somebody. And I mocked up this chart a while ago because this person got into this chart and wanted to see, let's see, not Tau, it was here. This is it right here. Now, I initially, when this chart was brought up to me, I marked out this chart with 3 lines. These were the 3 lines over here. These are the 3 lines right over here. Okay? And what I said was, look, this is how you play this zone, right? What you do is you put in a certain percentage over here, and you multiply it by 2 or 3 here as a DCA, right? On this line. This one you go in heavy. Like you take your whatever it was, you 4 or 5 times your amount. So for example, if they were putting in, you know, $100 into this chart here, right? This would be a $10 entry. This would be a I would make this. Come on, go. This would be a 30. This would be 3 here. Sorry, I put 3. This would be 30 $30 entry here. So you basically now have $40 inside this chart, right? And let's just make these round numbers, right? So this would be 5 times what you put in over here, right? So this would be I think I said it would be 100. Let me just get rid of this. Sorry, I just got distracted for a minute. Let's just get this here, right? So I put 40 over here. So there's 50. You got, yeah, it's 40 there. I would put like 60 or 100 down here. That's what I would put. To fill out this 100 here, let's get rid of this, right? To fill this out, so this would be 40, 60. So notice that I kind of like, I'm layering in. And what that would do is that if you got in over here, it would end up shifting your DCA further down, and you would have made some profit if you get into a move like this. But I didn't mark this out with the idea of like, okay, I'm just randomly going to put lines here. Notice this is the bottom of the range. This is the bottom of where it was right here. This is the bottom of a range right over here, this one. So you could see it, how I drew it. This was, if we broke this range right over here, which this is what I'm really kind of considering the range as it's going all the way down to the bottom. This is the next level down. Right? So this is the range, this is the next level down. So what you always want to do is you want to look for this if-then kind of scenario, right? If, yeah, come on. Quack. So if we were to break out of this range here, where are we going, right? So here, I got it marked up. This is the bottom of the previous range over here. And from here to where we are right now, that's about a 13% move. This would be good for orders. That would be good for spot. And even though we're not there, eventually we will hit there. And it could be that we hit this over the next couple weeks. Who knows? This move that was made yesterday is concerning, because of this wick that it formed. And what I'm looking for is I'll be looking for it to get back over into the zone somewhere, kind of maybe take out these guys. And honestly, because this area is what I'm looking at and this is where it bounced, if it's going to come over here, I would think it would come a little bit lower. So the next stop underneath is probably this golden pocket area from the previous range. So I would be looking at over here, maybe around what is this? Let's see. Let me put a line here so we can see what the price is. About 105. 105 300, something like that. So I will leave this line on there. Let me see what the difference is between this one right here and this right here. That's a 3% range. Yeah. So almost a 4% range. So I'm going to now, because of that move that was done, I'm going to take this. Oh, it looks like I took a long in this section. Oh, nice. Let me take this line right here. So this is my plan right over here. I'm just going to mark this out. If we get down into this zone right over here, this will be a pretty solid entry, right? This is kind of the what if scenario. If this, then that. If we break this range again because of this candle, I will be looking here for a long. So the most important thing when doing this is you have to understand that there are people making money all over the place. And it is very, very, very hard to catch a falling knife. So I wouldn't do it. If I were you, I wouldn't do it. I would study it. And if you did want to play it, I would play it with only a little bit amount of money that you're willing to lose, just so that you can understand how it's moving. I mean, you don't have to lose money to understand, but you know, this is part of the learning process, right? So if it came down to the bottom of the range, I would take a swing for it, right? Doesn't mean you're going to get it. Doesn't mean you're going to go for it. But if it does take a move up, then you need to take profit, because it's not going to, like, this is a great entry. It really is. But if this chart starts to move down, then it's an entry that you can tap into twice, right? So right now I am looking at this spot right over here, but mostly my alert is now saying, okay, let's just see if we do break this range. You know, I will hesitate taking a long just to see exactly what's happening. I'm not interested in taking a short, not right now. I'm not interested in doing anything, because it's already done, right? Now it's time to understand what this news and effect is going to happen, right? But you're not missing anything. You do not have to rush into these trades. It's not necessary, because you end up saving capital on losing, right? So no money lost is still a gain. So my plan now is looking at this zone right over here. So for those who took a short, when I told you to take a short in this area, explaining that I got it, if you were able to make profit on there, yo, W in the chat there, man. Like that's some good stuff. Like I'm happy that you were able to do that, right? Unfortunately, I closed out my short because I was being silly and I got distracted. I should have left it in. But as far as like a long goes, I'm not ready for a long yet on Bitcoin. I am not going to rush towards it. I do know that the next coming days, this is a really good area to buy altcoins. Honestly, alts, like, the more that this drops down, the more that these alts are going to drop, and the more that you're going to be positioning yourself in a good manner, right? So if it drops, that's kind of my alert right now. As far as like Ethereum goes, Ethereum, I do feel like it's going to fill out this wick even more so. Like, so what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a shift in character in the dominance, right? So if I go look over at at ETH dominance, look at this. We broke through that. Now, nobody would have been able to truly predict that we would have such a sharp move, you know, unless you're a super insider. But yeah, I'm looking for dominance to kind of, like, it has to come over to this area now. You see this cluster? Let me just highlight this cluster over here, and I'm going to pull that out over here. So this is where I'm looking for the dominance to drop for Ethereum. That means that Ethereum is going to continue to drop harder than Bitcoin as Bitcoin continues dropping. So I am looking for, again, this wick to kind of fill out. Now I am in a long, and I took some heavy profit because I caught it at the bottom of this range. I swung for this. And I took some very, very heavy profit. So at this point, if we go up, I've got kind of like a little bit of a moon bag, right? Great. I'll take some more profit as we go. But this is the rejection spot right here. If we reject out of that, then we're definitely coming back lower. So this is our resistance mark right now that I'm looking for. As far as like, whether I should take a, you should take a long or anything like that, I would look at the bottom here. I would look here, this zone for a long, right? And I would just wait. It's important to wait. That is just as important as getting into a trade. Because if we break this right here, now, let's go a little bit further. Let's look a little bit deeper in this day chart, right? What are we forming? We are forming, first of all, this is a Bart pattern. And second, if we start to lose this area, we are coming back right over here. This is our next section to go on. Why? Because this is the range, the previous range, right? So I'm hoping that we build a little bit of this is kind of like, okay, like way in the future, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we hit that. But this move is quite large. Let's actually let's measure this, right? From here to here. That's an almost 80% move. That's not going to be something that's going to happen right now. Unless there's another Black Swan event. But if there is, you better have some dry powder for down here. Because that bounce will be something. That's for sure. So, first things first. If this is creating a head and shoulders, this is kind of the zone right here. So we'll take the opportunity in this range right here to trade. So that's what we're going to be looking at. Right now, I would suggest to you, do not try to catch any knives. Plan, go chill out, take the weekend. We'll see what happens next week. But yeah, this is exactly kind of like, where we're at. Unfortunately, the news took the opportunity to tell us whatever. So until we get a little bit more information, this is where we're at. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions at all, if you are interested in, joining the Discord or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment down below. Yeah, if you want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. We would appreciate it. That would just help us to understand who's watching, how you're watching it, and if you like the content. Thanks.